Hey everyone, welcome back to In the Alley. My name is Cody. Glad you guys are back for another video. We got a doozy. We have a huge lineup for week 5. All 14 teams, 7 games, staggered starts on a Saturday, 2 games on a Sunday, which will be its own preview and recap and everything like that. So I'm not going to waste any more time. We've got a lot of games to touch on. Northern Arizona, New Mexico, you are up first. All right, we need to talk our first preview of the evening. Northern Arizona at New Mexico. 0-2 Northern Arizona versus 0-2 New Mexico. Something's got to give here. Both these teams do not have a win, and after this game, someone will be 1-2, someone will be 0-3, and you might be starting to hit the panic button, regardless of the team that you are. Something else has to give here, too. Northern Arizona is 0-1 on the road. New Mexico 0-2 at home. New Mexico being the home team, so someone's going to get a win somehow, some way with that. But yeah, push will come to shove, and we'll see who does take that victory. We're on overnight at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, our first game of a huge slate, 5 games of a staggered start, each game kicking off an hour afterwards. So this will have everyone's attention for the first hour, and then we slowly start kicking things off, and obviously we'll have all those previews. Taking a look at our season leaders. Here on the left side of the screen, Ramon Atkins is your leading rusher and passer for Northern Arizona, and Jerome Johnson, your leading rusher and passer for New Mexico. So a battle of the quarterbacks, dare I say, and we'll talk more about that in a minute. 28 of 55 for Ramon Atkins, 281, 4 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. Jerome Johnson, 32 of 51, 296 yards, 9 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Ramon Atkins is your leading rusher, as I alluded to, 15 carries, 44 yards, and 3 rushing touchdowns. And Jerome Johnson, 8 carries, 76 yards, and 1 rushing touchdown. Now, these are all stats from the Indoor Football League website. Are they accurate? Who knows? But I'm taking it off there and using them. So if they're going to use their stats, I will use their stats. And if they're wrong, they're wrong. Oh well. Marlon Cook, 9 catches, 80 yards, and 3 receiving touchdowns for your receiving leader for the Wranglers. And for the Chupacabras, Damon Street, 9 catches, 130 yards, 2 touchdowns. Quite some surprises right there. You know, I expected someone else, but Damon Street being, I expected C.J. Jefferson, let's say what it is. But Damon Street being the leading receiver right there, it's kind of insane. He's actually been balling out really, really well. Taking a look at our injury report from the last game for Northern Arizona, not really much to report on. Still Neville Smith and Kylan Herrera both out on short-term injured reserve. And we've had a couple of players off of short-term injured reserve for the Chupacabras, but added John Washington, Wes Bowers still there, and Michael Goss on season injured reserve. Taking a look at our game odds presented by DraftKings. Northern Arizona is the underdog on the road by 2.5 points. The Chupacabras favored at home by 2.5, with our over-under being 83.5. So they are expecting a moderate amount of points. They think both offenses are going to put up some points. The defenses are going to give up a couple of points, with a money line plus 120 in favor of the Wranglers and minus 142 for the Chupacabras. So $10 bet for Northern Arizona will get you $12 plus your $10 back, so $22 if you want to bet the road upset. Game information, we are at the Tingley Coliseum in beautiful Albuquerque, New Mexico. Again, game on overnight at 6 p.m. Eastern Time kickoff, and our series head-to-head features 7-3 in favor of New Mexico. Now again, this dates back to the Duke City Gladiator days, their last meeting being all the way back in 2024, Week 19, one of the final weeks of the season there, where the Chupacabras Gladiators won the game 69-48, and that was a completely different Northern Arizona Wranglers team, and obviously a completely different New Mexico Chupacabras team. So, for all intents and purposes, you could kind of throw all these records out and blah blah blah, but I keep it for continuity because, again, Duke City is a continuation, New Mexico is a continuation of Duke City as the ownership changed and a rebrand happened. It's not a brand new expansion franchise, dare I say, unless they want to say that they are, in which case, I guess. But regardless, so there we have it. There is our preview portion and kind of the rundown of what we have here. We still need to go take a look at our 25-man rosters, our bet and prediction, and dive a little bit deeper in how we think this game is going to play out. Excuse me. And still 4 other previews to do after this. So let's go take a look at those rosters. All right, with the 25-man rosters on the screen here, we need to take a look at how each transactions and all the transactions and all that stuff have panned out. Excuse me, I'm tripping over my words. Taking a look at the away side first for Northern Arizona, Ramon Atkins Frazier and Kobe Gatson are your quarterbacks, with Atkins Frazier most likely being your starter, Gatson being the backup. Running backs Benjamin Omeabu and Nolan Susel to round it out there. Susel going to be your starter, with Omeabu being kind of your kick returner, special teams, and wide receiver spell, or excuse me, running back spell. So we'll see how he plays. If he suits up, he has and he hasn't. So taking a look at the wide receivers, Stephen Lewis, Karan Ashley, Marlon Cook, Kobe Smith, and Jordan Jakes. And in the last couple of weeks, I mean, Karan Ashley's kind of filled out nicely, filling in for Kobe Smith, who is, we'll see if he gets into the game at all. Jordan Jakes has played well. Marlon Cook has played well. I mean, the wide receiving room, it's not bad, but they're just not scoring the points, and they're having the issues. And it's not the wide receivers mainly. It's the team as a whole. But and like I've said before, I like that wide receiver room. If they can get that thing going, we'll see if more points are scored in this one. Offensive line includes Stacey Wilkins, Ryan Atkins Frazier, Robert Malcolm, and Ben Key. And I believe it's been pretty much Atkins, Frazier, Wilkins, and Ben Key as your three starters, with Malcolm being kind of your super sub with that. We'll see how that goes. Defensively for the Wranglers, Malik Ritchie, Ryan Johnson, Victor Obi, and Zachary Vincetti to round it out on that defensive line. More of the same, man. I believe it's been Johnson, Ritchie, and Vincetti being your starters, with Obi. I don't know if he's suited up for a game yet. He might have. He might have actually suited up for both, but they will need probably that super sub on that defensive line to corral Jerome Johnson if he's going to be scrambling. Linebacker, Trey Pinckney. I can't remember. He was signed or in camp with someone at one point. It might have been Northern Arizona for all I know. I can't remember, honestly, but he is signed here, so that is your linebacker. We'll see if he actually plays, or if they move Traveris Farrell back down there. We're not sure, but, Northern Arizona, we'll see how it kind of goes with them. To the secondary, we got Traveris Farrell, who I just mentioned, Kieran Page, Davai Gabor, Brendan Looper, Daiwan Griffin, and Jai Nun Liddell to round it out in that secondary. And again, we'll see how that goes, because there's not a lot of depth, as you see on the New Mexico side of things. So how does that secondary react to those wide receivers, and can they keep them in check? Again, we'll talk about that in the bet and prediction segment of everything else. Your kicker is Nestor Aguera, and that is your 25-man roster for your Northern Arizona Wranglers. Switching over to the home side, for the New Mexico Chupacabras, Jerome Johnson and Donovan Portieri are your quarterbacks for New Mexico. Jerome Johnson presumed a starter unless something crazy happens. Running back includes Walter Wilbon III, but again, LaJames White, who is still, again, listed, I'm shouting this out, still listed as a defensive back, so he will probably be your starting running back. Wilbon, we'll see if he gets into the game at all. No number designation to my knowledge with that, so we'll see what kind of happens with that. I fully expect LaJames White to be the starter. I know he's down there in the secondary. Update your roster, please. Wide receivers, not a lot. C.J. Jefferson, Demond Street, and Isaac Crocker. There's not a lot of depth at the skill positions. Wilbon and Portieri kind of being it, and then you've got your fourth offensive lineman, who we'll talk about here in 1 second. Actually, right now. Roderick Williams, Dante Ogburn, Arthur Chandler, and Ryan Franz to round out that offensive line. Ogburn comes off a short-term injured reserve to help out with some depth, but if you've counted the names and the numbers here, there's still only like 22 players. They don't have a full 25-man roster right now, and I think even Northern Arizona might only have 24 players too, so we're running into some attrition stuff right here. So Ogburn, coming off a short-term injured reserve, can really help out that offensive line, who has kind of been battered with injuries, but Williams, Ogburn, Chandler, and Franz, we'll see how that kind of goes and who gets the start, because it's kind of been a rotating wheel, to the point where you've had Maurice Jackson with the injuries having to come and do double duty as of their last game. Apologies, I'm sorry about that. Defense, Maurice Jackson, Keandre Hall, Luke Kelly, and Alan Love to round out that defensive line. It's probably going to be Jackson, probably Alan Love, and either Keandre Hall or Luke Kelly. I think they've kind of split a little bit, but Kelly might have gotten the start and the nods. Keandre Hall's played really well. Again, go Pitt State. But, Maurice Jackson, kind of that anchor on that defensive line. We'll see if he can wreak some havoc, because Ramon Atkins can run. But, again, if you can get pressure on him and force him into those mistakes, and again, we'll talk about this in a minute, you could have a chance to eat here on the defensive line. Linebackers Marvin Pierre, who in their last game against Tucson really impressed. I'm really impressed with how Marvin Pierre played, and maybe the sky's the limit with him because he was playing pretty well against Tucson, so maybe he can do more of that in this. Secondary, Jasius Clark, Gleason, Sprewell, Greg Dent, Tycorian Brown, LaJames White, and new signee Jared Sod, former Iowa Barnstormer. Again, LaJames White moving up to that running back position. You don't need to worry about him in the secondary. So it's going to be Clark, Sprewell, Greg Dent, and then probably Tycorian Brown to be your fourth, with Jared Sod being your fifth and your super sub. And again, there's only, I believe, 22 guys on this roster, so I think all of these guys are going to suit up. We'll figure out what numbers Wilbon and Sod have, and we just kind of go from there. Your kicker is Ben Derby, and that is your 25-man roster for your New Mexico Chupacabras. That was your 25-man roster for your Northern Arizona Wranglers. We need to go look at our bet and our prediction, dive a little bit deeper into this game, kind of do some key points and stuff like that, and figure out how we think it's going to go. We got 4 other previews to do after this. Right, we need to talk bet and prediction. We'll start with our bet first. Plus 120 to the money line for Northern Arizona. This is, and I've said this in the off-season previews, I've said it in the predictions and the playoffs and stuff like that. This is an opportunity for both teams to earn a win, but only one of them can. And I have both these teams and I'll keep saying it, I have both these teams on the lower tier when it comes to, I don't think they can make the playoffs. I don't think they're going to win many games when it comes to this. I think I've got Northern Arizona at 3 and New Mexico at 2. So this could be one of those 2 wins or one of those 3 wins. And, again, predictions are going to be wrong as they always are, but this is an opportunity for hopefully one of these teams to springboard and maybe get a couple more wins throughout the season. It starts here. And we noticed that last week against Tucson and New Mexico, because now Tucson looks a little bit better as they get into their game that we'll preview against San Diego. But if New Mexico can win this game, then they might be able to cobble some things together. For Northern Arizona, kind of the same thing. Both these teams are in kind of bad spots right now. I'm picking Northern Arizona because of the attrition. It's kind of why I picked Tucson last week. The offensive line for New Mexico should be better. They have 4 guys, so if another guy goes down, then there is the opportunity not to play a defensive lineman at that offensive line position. The offense looks good, but you only have 3 wide receivers. You have another running back coming in to help spell James White and kind of add another wide receiver if you need it going in there, but other than that, you don't really have much. On the defensive side of the ball, you've got players, you've got some depth, but for the most part, it's, I think in this game, not just attrition, but who gets worn down less, who creates less mistakes. And Northern Arizona's been prone to make mistakes. New Mexico's prone to make mistakes, and a lot of those, and that's not just turnovers or boneheadedness like that. It's penalties. It's all the mental things too. And New Mexico having the blocked field goal return for the touchdown that was in the end zone, the kick return touchdown against Orlando, Northern Arizona getting kind of run on against Jacksonville, having Edward Vander go on that, spinorama and that long touchdown from midfield or so. I mean, both these teams are privy to giving up really stupid plays, man. So I guess for all intents and purposes, you could put the over here because I've got it at this. My prediction for this one, 44-40. So I've got it right at 84, so going over, because that could be it. Both defenses, they could leave a little bit to be desired, as Northern Arizona's given up 40-plus points in both of their games. New Mexico, more of the same as well. So defenses may be optional in this one. For Northern Arizona to win this game, I think, again, you got to limit those mistakes. You've got to make sure that your wide receivers are getting open, and you have to establish some sort of a run game. I've expected a little bit more out of Atkins Frazier and a little bit more out of Nolan Susel, but playing from behind as they have against Jacksonville, you kind of had to open it up a little bit. And playing back and forth with San Diego, you were able to run the ball a little bit, but it just seems like more of the same. You're going to be a pass-first offense and then try and establish the run later. We'll see if that run really gets established. It remains to be seen. So we'll see how it goes. On the New Mexico side, to win this game, you have to have Jerome Johnson pretty much do it all. And he's kind of been doing that on the offense. Now, that's not to take things away from Demond Street or LaJames White, C.J. Jefferson, whoever the case could be. But with the improvisational skills that Jerome Johnson has, being able to scramble out of the pocket and extend plays and make that work, he's been able to keep New Mexico in these games. The defense has helped a little bit, But, again, they've given up 40-plus points in both of their games. Jerome Johnson's been able to establish that, and I think another key thing here is special teams. Can Ben Derby finally kind of get off the schneid here, hit some field goals? I'm not saying he's been bad or anything, but he's been put in some tough spots. We're talking field goals from the end zone, man. They get blocked. You got to have a bad launch angle on that. You got to take a weird, go into it, and yeah, it spells disaster almost every time. He's not the only one that deals with that. Same thing with Northern Arizona and what they have with Nestor Aguirre. He's at a deuce. But if push comes to shove, is it going to be more of like, are you going to trot him out there, or are you going to go for it? What are the special teams going to do here? You had some decent returns with New Mexico. You've had a couple of nice returns in a sense with Northern Arizona as well. But can special teams play a huge factor in this one? We'll see. If you can limit the mistakes and the turnovers, if you can play good special teams, if you're able to put your team in position, I mean, it kind of bodes towards New Mexico with the improvisational skills of Jerome Johnson. But if Northern Arizona can just stay steady, I think Northern Arizona can maybe take this one. Now, 0-2 at home. This is your third straight home game. This to me screams New Mexico win. But every time I think that, the opposite's probably going to happen. So I'm going to probably overthink this one. But yeah, plus 120 to the money line, and it's an upset. Let's get an upset out of the way. We don't get a lot of those. We do, but we don't. Early on you do, but when you start seeing things like this, it's kind of a toss-up in a sense. Some team is going to win. I've got Northern Arizona in this one. So that's where we have it, plus 120 to the money line, 44-40 in favor of the Wranglers. Let's go take a look at preview number 2. All right, preview number 2. We're on Yahoo this time, so we're going to have a lot of games on overnight on Saturday, but this is the only game on Yahoo on a Saturday night. So if you've got Yahoo and you want to watch it for free, here it is, baby. We have the 0-2 Iowa Barnstormers taking on the 2-1 Fishers Freight. Oh, buddy, it's like lambs to a slaughter almost when you consider how both these teams are so far this season. We got to talk about it. Again, we are in Yahoo. It is a 7 p.m. Eastern Time kickoff, and I know I joke around about it, but we got to piece some stuff together here because if things break Fishers' way, Iowa could be in for a long night. You see the spread in the right corner. Yeah. Anyway, we need to take a look at our season leaders. Harrison Rubidoux, excuse me. I got to pronounce it. It's like Scooby-Doo. It's Rubidoux. 27 of 56, 292 yards, 9 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Felix Harper, your leading passer for Fishers, 33 of 47, 315 yards, 8 touchdowns, 3 picks. Your leading rushers for both sides, I think it's Najee. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's Najee Bryant, Lil A, 22 attempts, 76 yards, no rushing touchdowns for him, which I thought he had 1 or 2, but apparently not. These are the Indoor Football League stats. They could be completely wrong. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm using your stats, baby. Felix Harper, 38 carries, 107 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. Your receiving leaders, Curtis Ravenel, 9 catches, 119 yards, 4 touchdowns. C.J. Wyndham, 9 catches, 94 yards, and 3 receiving touchdowns. Yeah, I mean, one team has produced a lot on offense. The other team, not so much until it's roughly the fourth quarter of a game that's kind of out of hand already. Injury report. I have these 2 players on here, but when I got the roster, they were not on the injured reserve. So I don't know if they've been cut. I'm going to leave them here for a week. If I don't see anything else, I'm assuming that they're cut, but I just don't know. But Morian Walker, Taylor Hawkins spending another week right here. We'll see, because Morian Walker was number 4, and they gave that number to someone else. We'll talk about that in the 25-man roster. So whether that means that Walker and Hawkins are both released from this, I don't know. So, again, we'll figure that out at a later time. For Fishers, no changes either. McGaw, Rogers, and Wright are all on short-term injured reserve for yet another week. And, nothing really to report when it comes to that. Taking a look at our game odds on the right side here. Minus 16.5. 2 touchdowns and a field goal practically for Fishers at home. That money line is insane. Talk about that really quick, but 87.5 for our over-under, so they are expecting some points here. And plus 500 for the Iowa money line. So if you just bet $10, you can get $50 back if Iowa pulls the upset. Or if you want to bet $10, you will earn 7 cents or something like that. I don't know, but minus 700 for Fishers at home. So Vegas, the casino, is looking at this as a big, big win for Fishers, regardless of how it plays out spread-wise. Game information, we are at the Fishers Event Center in Fishers, Indiana. We are on the Yahoo Sports Network again at 7 p.m. Eastern Time at kickoff. And our series head-to-head, 2-1 in favor of the Freight with, oh buddy, a huge blowout. The last time they met, I believe, was the final week of the season, week 19 of 2025. Fishers, 81-40. Now, they did meet 3 times last year, and that was Iowa's only win partway through the season. So Iowa has beaten Fishers last year. Can they pull another upset? Is this a thing where Iowa or Fishers becomes the new Orlando and you have that one random Iowa win that they probably shouldn't? We don't know. Anyway, we need to go take a look at the 25-man rosters, our bet and prediction for Barnstormers and Freight, and we still have 3 more previews to go. All right, 25-man rosters for our second preview in front of our faces, starting with the away side first. For the Barnstormers, Ivan Corbin Jr. and Harrison Rubidoux are your quarterbacks. Rubidoux getting the start more likely than not. Corbin being, again, your special teams, wide receiver, running back, whatever he wants to be. I mean, he's kind of all around. We'll see what he can do in this game. Again, I think it's Najee. Najee Bryant-Lilley as your running back. He's been running really well, man. I've been really impressed with him. We'll see if we can get him more acclimated into this game because we know one side's probably going to run it. They ran it really well last week. We'll see if Iowa can match that. And I think if they do, Bryant-Lilley is going to have to be a linchpin for that. Wide receivers, DeMonte Martin, Donald McKinney, Andre Williams, new signing, former Green Bay Blizzard, Joshua Simmons, and Curtis Ravenel Jr. to round out that wide receiving core. And again, you're going to need those wide receivers, and if you hear my chair making noise, I'm sorry, but you're going to need those wide receivers in this game as well because Fishers' offense and their defense are really good. And truth be told, Curtis Ravenel, Donald McKinney, and even DeMonte Martin, they have played really, really well, all things considered. Yes, they've played from behind. Yes, they do not have a win, but again, moral victories or whatever you want to call them, I do like how DeMonte Martin, Curtis Ravenel, and Donald McKinney have been playing for Iowa. The wins aren't there. They might be. And again, I know I said that last year with them. They won 1, so we'll see how it goes. Nicholas Orr, offensive and defensive lineman. Yeah, he played defensive line a little bit last week against Green Bay, but I have him here as offensive lineman. Tyler Castaneda, McLean Doja, and Tyrone Chambers to round it out. So that kind of tells you Castaneda, Doja, and Chambers most likely your starters, or being your rotating piece. On the defensive side, Jacarius Smith, Tyler Tate, PK Akayensu, and Jared Johnson for that line. I believe it's been pretty much, is it Johnson, Tate, and Smith with Akayensu kind of being your super sub with that as well. Linebacker includes Austin Edmonds, and in the secondary, Amon Ross, new signee Eugene Ford. He's been around for a little bit. Massachusetts, I think he's been with San Diego at one point as well. So, again, kind of a veteran of the game when it comes to that. Was he with Arizona for a cup of coffee? He might have been like in the offseason or something. I can't remember. But regardless, Terry Jones, Trayvon Pope, Jazeer Merricks, and Richie Coffey to round it out. Speaking of that cup of coffee. So, again, there is some veteran experience right there with Ford, Ross, and Coffey. We'll see how that kind of translates to it. Kicker. They're doing the patented 2-kicker method here. Gabriel Reed and Trevor Spalding are both on the roster, so that leads me to believe that Reed might be nursing an injury, might be hurt, and Spalding got signed to kind of take over for a week, maybe 2 weeks. Don't know. We'll see how it kind of goes. Over to the home side. Felix Harper, your quarterback for Fishers, as we always say. No other quarterback except for Jordan Davis, who is your wide receiver quarterback. I don't think he's thrown a pass or done anything of the like yet, so until then, only the one quarterback. Dominic Roberto and Josiah King are your running backs for the Freight. King most likely your starter, but Dominic Roberto had a really good game last week against Arizona. I mean, I wouldn't say mop-up duty, but yeah, you know. Wide receivers, JT Stokes, Isaiah Coulter, CJ Wyndham, Jalen Green, and aforementioned Jordan Davis. Again, Stokes, Coulter, Wyndham probably going to be your starters, but we'll see if Green and Davis suit up. I think Davis has suited up the last couple of games. We'll see if he continues that trend. Gary Reynolds, LaQuinston Sharp, Daryl Simmons, and Devon Donaldson on that offensive line, with Sharp, Simmons, and Donaldson most likely being your starters, with Reynolds, again, being your super sub. I think he's suited up in every game so far. Defensively, Jalen Swan, Leon Smalls, Nicholas Lennon, Bryce Bass, and Darius Long, with Swan, Smalls, and Long being most likely your starters. I know I say most likely because you can't really pinpoint them all yet, but based on recent 25-man rosters, Swan, Smalls, Long, most likely going to be it, with Lennon and Bass being, again, super subs. Linebackers, Cornelius Montgomery, again, welcome to Fishers, man. You had one hell of a game against Arizona. Marcus Gray being your other linebacker, but with Montgomery being in that slot, Gray was able to move back into the defensive secondary. Kind of helped him out a little bit. So we'll see if that's more of the same in this game as they did last week, but if not, we'll see how it goes. In the secondary, Donnie Lewis Jr., C.J. Parrish, Kendarius Smith, Jaden Rowe, and Devin Williams to round it out. So again, if Marcus Gray goes into that secondary, it's going to be probably him, Lewis, Parrish, and Jaden Rowe, but Devin Williams has played. I think he's even started a game or two. Kendarius Smith, I don't know if he's suited up for a game yet or not, but regardless, that's where we have it. Your kicker is Callum Sutherland, and that is your 25-man roster for your Fishers Freight. That was your 25-man roster for the Iowa Barnstormers. We need to take a look at our bet. We need to take a look at our prediction, see how this game's going to kind of play out, and then we got 3 more previews to go. All right, we need to take a look at our bet and our prediction for Iowa and Fishers. Minus 16.5. Why? Because there's not many chances you get to bet on this, and this could be an easy Iowa cover if they play well. I mean, I don't really know how else to describe it, because they did have a backdoor cover against Green Bay last week. I was there, not to brag, but it was a fun game. I don't expect a 20-point fourth quarter from Iowa in this game. Now, again, I don't expect Fishers to come out and score 23 points unanswered like Green Bay did, but which scenario is more likely? Fishers to score 23 unanswered on Iowa, or Iowa to have a 20-point fourth quarter and match Fishers and cover the spread and do all that? I'm probably leaning towards Fishers. So that's the reason I'm going minus 16.5. That's not to say Iowa won't score points. I think Fishers at some point will probably take their foot off the gas in this one. It's going to be a blowout, not a 40-point blowout or anything like that, but it'll be a very commanding win for Fishers. I believe they will lead from coast to coast, and they wire to wire, whatever you want to call it, and they will take this victory. That's the reason why the odds heavily favor Fishers, is I'm not the only one thinking like this. If Iowa wants to pull the upset in this one, in my opinion, they need to play perfectly. They need to get turnovers, which just off the top of my head, they've gotten a turnover or two, but I do not believe they're turning the ball over that many times. Like, I don't think they're getting those interceptions and those fumbles. I know that they intercepted Daquan Neal once, possibly twice. I don't know if they had any turnovers against Green Bay. Now I'm thinking about it, and again, I have all the access to it, but for the sake of the video, I'm not going to go back and look for it. I'm sorry. So yeah, pardon the ignorance there, but I think Iowa just does not have a lot of turnovers in the season. Fishers, I mean, yeah, man. I mean, Fishers might not have a lot too, but at the same time, they're getting those possessions. They're making the most of the possessions, even if they're not getting turnovers as well. But I think they've got interceptions and fumbles and stuff like that too. We'll see how it kind of goes. But I mean, I'll have to freshen up on all of that stuff too. So again, pardon the ignorance when it comes to that. For Iowa to win this game, they need to not just limit their turnovers, they need to score every possession. And I just do not see that happening. I don't. Just because in their 2 games, they've scored 25 points and 39 points. They've not broken 40 yet this season. I don't think they're going to do it this one either. I don't. My prediction for this one, 56-34. It's a 22-point victory for Fishers. For Iowa to win, I mean, you have to have Fishers just have a completely off game. You have to have Felix Harper throwing interceptions. You have to be able to stuff the run, and Green Bay was running on you. They had jet sweeps to Trayvon Alexander going for touchdowns. They were running with DeMylan Brown. They were running with, I think it was Robinson was the running back's name, the guy from San Jose State. Iowa also needs to limit the amount of possessions. If you give Fishers multiple possessions, they're going to capitalize on it. If you want to do this, you need to boa constrictor that clock. You need to take all 40 seconds off that play clock, and you need to convert third and fourth downs. You need to score on every possession, and you need to force Fishers to make mistakes. I just don't see it happening. I don't. Fishers is more likely capable of doing that with their running game than Iowa is. And I'm sorry, that sounds harsh for me trying to, talk Iowa into a win, but I don't see it in this one. I think Fishers is going to take this one. I think they're going to lead wire to wire, like I mentioned, and it's just going to be one of those games where I'm going to watch it, but if you are a fan of Fishers, if you're a fan of Iowa, or even just a casual fan, I don't blame you for turning this game off or going to find a more exciting game, because I feel like this one's going to stay roughly a 2-touchdown, 3-touchdown, or maybe even more than that if Iowa makes a comeback and they take their foot off the gas in the fourth quarter. So I know it sucks. I don't like, talking like that, but at the same time, you got to be realistic in these expectations. I can't blow smoke up someone's ass for so much and be like, Iowa's going to win this one. They're going to pull the upset. They can. I'll be shocked if they do. I just don't see it. So, yeah, unfortunately, that's kind of where we have it. We're going to have games like this, unfortunately. That's the nature of the beast. There's teams that are good. There's teams that are not that good. And this is one of those games. So, unless Iowa pulls their one win, they pull their Orlando, Massachusetts magic out of their ass in this game, we don't know. But I've got minus 16.5 for this. 56-34 in favor of the Freight. So again, another home win for the Freight. Fans, stadium, atmosphere, all of that stuff, just adding to the aura that is the Fishers Freight. So there we have it for this one. We have 3 more previews to take care of, so let's keep mowing them down. All right, preview number 3. Heck. We're back on overnight, so the Yahoo game between Iowa and Fishers. We go back to overnight here. The 3-0 Green Bay Blizzard taking on the 1-2 Quad City Steamwheelers, a rematch of last year's Eastern Conference Championship. We'll talk about that in 1 second. We have an 8 p.m. Eastern Time kickoff, so 7 p.m. Central Time. Set your clocks accordingly. You didn't expect Quad City to be 1-2 right now, and kind of scratching your head about them. We didn't really, I personally didn't think Green Bay would be 3-0, but here we are. So let's dive in. Our season leaders for both sides, Liam Thompson and Daquan Neal, both your leading rusher and passer for their respective sides. Thompson, 29 of 54 for 379 yards, 8 touchdowns, no interceptions. And again, these stats are from the Indoor Football League website, so take it with a grain of salt or don't. Who knows if they're accurate? Daquan Neal, 38 of 71, 435 yards, 11 touchdowns, 4 picks. Not bad. Liam Thompson, 36 carries, 143 yards, 7 rushing touchdowns. He's put on a clinic, man. 15 total touchdowns in 3 games. He's just finding the end zone. Daquan Neal, 24 attempts, 111 rushing yards, and 3 rushing touchdowns. So again, not to be outdone. 14 total touchdowns for Daquan Neal in 3 games. Still not bad either. Drayshawn Hudson, your leading receiver, 9 receptions, 169 yards, 3 touchdowns. So every third catch is a touchdown for Hudson. And again, kind of not to be outdone, Kean Williams, 13 catches, 190 yards, 6 receiving touchdowns. Practically every other catch for Kean Williams, if you're looking at those stats, is a touchdown. So he's down there somewhere. F it. Seriously. Taking a look at our injury report right here. Not really anything to report for Green Bay from what we've had prior. Andrew Carter still on short-term injured reserve. Dorian Davis on short-term injured reserve, with Malinaji and Jawan Mitchell both being on season injured reserve. And same thing with Quad City. Nothing here. Marquis or Markai Whitlock, they're on short-term injured reserve as well. So we'll see in the next coming weeks if any of those guys get off short-term injured reserve or released or whatever the case could be. Game odds presented by DraftKings for both sides. Quad City is a 2.5-point underdog at home and minus 2.5 road favorite for the Blizzard. We have an over-under of 87.5, which means they're expecting both teams to score 40-plus points in this one, roughly 45 points. Excuse me. I apologize about that. Random hiccup just came up. And then minus 148 to the money line for the Blizzard, plus 124 for the Steamwheelers at home, as an upset can occur. So we are at Vibrant Arena at the Mark. in beautiful Moline, Illinois. Take me back because I do love that place. 8 p.m. Eastern time kickoff with our series head-to-head slowly getting away from the Steamwheelers. It is 10-6 in favor of Green Bay. And again, their last matchup being the Eastern Conference Championship last year, where Green Bay would eventually go on to the Indoor Football League National Championship, but they won this one 71-64. Pretty close game, all things considered, but again, Green Bay kind of had that one. Not from the jump, but they flexed their muscle a little bit in that. But anyway, this should be a fun game. But we need to talk more about it. We got a 25-man roster we need to chat about. We've got a bet and a prediction for this game that we need to chat about. So let's go chat about them. Let's go take care of all that stuff, and then we still have 2 more previews to go after this. All right, we need to take a look at the 25-man rosters as they are on the screen here, starting with the away side first. For the Green Bay Blizzard, starting quarterback is going to be Liam Thompson, with Cole Stenstrom being your backup. I know I have those reversed, but that's how we have it in numerical order. Running backs, DeMylan Brown and Kerry Robinson. Brown started out as a wide receiver in the game against Iowa. We'll see if he gets more of that action at the running back. I was actually really impressed with how he played, and then Robinson kind of taking the reins later in the game when it was kind of in hand. Both players played really well. Taking a look at the wide receivers here for the Blizzard: Drayshawn Hudson, Sylvia Campbell, Trayvon Alexander, Isaac Ross, and Terrell Carey, with Jack Studer rounding it out. So a lot of wide receivers there. We'll see how many of them get into action, because in the last couple of games, with Campbell coming off a short-term injured reserve, it's been Hudson, Alexander, and Ross. Campbell and Carey have kind of got in there. Studer's got in there a little bit, so kind of see who the subs are and who suits up and everything along those lines. Not a lot of depth here, though, at the offensive line. Delvin Salter, Jamie Navarro, and Dakota White, with obviously Andrew Carter being on injured reserve. It leaves a little bit to be desired, but they held up nicely against Iowa. I expect more of the same kind of here. We'll see how it kind of goes with that offensive line. Defensively, just kind of more of the same with that defensive line. Again, very nasty. Tavon Grant, Jonathan Ross, Allen Henry, Jaquan Griffin, and Sean Mustin. And yeah, I think the starters are probably going to be Grant, Ross, and Mustin, with Henry and Jaquan Griffin being, again, super subs with that. I think all 5 of them have suited up in every game or close to it. It might not all have, but I think they have. I think in the last 2 games, all 5 of them have. So Henry and Griffin have gotten into games, and they've proven their worth. I know Griffin had that fumble recovery against Vegas. I think Henry got in that game too. So again, I think all 5 have suited up each game for Green Bay. So there's something strategic there that they're doing. Linebacker, they didn't really have one last week, but they do now. Former Quad City Steamwheeler Brian Lee Jr. So maybe it's a little, tale of the trade here of like, hey, come over here and tell us how the defense goes. Remains to be seen. But if you're a Quad City fan and you see Brian Lee kind of balling out, you're going to be kind of upset that you didn't re-sign him here, because there's been a lot of talk about Alex Harriott, and we'll talk about him in a sec. But Brian Lee over here for Green Bay. Secondary: Reggie Bracey, Frankie West Jr., Trenton McGee, Najee Snyder, and Giovanni Waller to round it out, or Najee Snyder, excuse me. That secondary has been pretty good for the most part. I mean, they have given up some points, they have given up some yards, but for the most part, I mean, all things considered, you're 3-0 for a reason. It's not solely on the secondary, but the defense has been able to shut teams down when it's needed. Yeah, I mean, what can you say? Frankie West has looked pretty good. Trent McGee's been a nice signing from the last week, and Snyder, Waller, and Bracey have all been pretty good too. So again, that's what Coach Roberson does, man. The defense still looks really good. Kicker is Andrew Mevis, and that's your 25-man roster for Green Bay. Taking a look over at the Steamwheeler side of things, DeQuan Neal and Judd Roberts, quarterbacks, with DeQuan Neal being your starter. Running backs, Jared Ware and Trenton Barnes, going to be there, with Ware most likely being your starter. Barnes maybe suiting up and being the backup and all of that stuff. Wide receivers, Kean Williams, Jalal Dean, Kevon Rudd, and Jordan Vesey. And again, their game against Orlando last week all looked really good. Kean Williams stepped up. Jordan Vesey, he looked pretty good until he got shaken up a little bit. Kevon Rudd, his reliable self, I mean, he's not going to light the world on fire, but he looks good. And again, I've been saying this for the last couple of weeks now. Jalal Dean, kind of lighting things up a little bit. He looks really good. He looks pretty comfortable in the system. Offensive line, Matthew Kickle, Joel Crowell, Joe Krall, Edward Gatling and Lionel Whittingham to round it out. Krall, Gatling, and Whittingham most likely your starters. We'll see if Kickle suits up. After being traded over last week from Jacksonville, we'll see if he gets into the game at all. Defensively, Charles Rosser, David Abelarinwa, Keyshawn Moore, Chimadunga, and Rashawn Williams to round it out. We'll see. We'll see how this one goes, man. I think more Rosser and either Abelarinwa or Williams, I think, might suit up when start in this one. I'm curious to see if they get all five going, kind of like how Green Bay does, but they have been playing. I mean, Moore is going to be a staple there. Rosser, I've been impressed with, all things considered, being the rookie that he is, and Abelarinwa pretty much too. So Dunga, Williams, all of those guys. We'll see how that defensive line goes against that kind of offensive line that leaves a little bit to be desired there. Linebacker is Alex Harriott, which again, for all of the negativity that this guy is getting, he's not been bad. I'll say it right here, right now. But again, if Brian Lee balls out, I see Quad City fans having a gripe there. So what can you do? Secondary, Jamon Williams, Caleb Coleman, Kevin Ransom II, Nicholas Harris, Malik Duncan, and Cameron Harrell. And I didn't realize this until I was doing my 25-man rosters. Malik Duncan did not make the trip to Orlando, from what I saw. So if he gets back into this game, or if he gets into the game against Green Bay, that'll be some much-needed veteran presence. But, I mean, from what I saw, I think it was Ransom, Harris, Harrell, and Coleman with Jamon Williams in there too, because Williams had 2 interceptions. I can't remember if he started or if it was Coleman who started. But for the most part, we'll see how it kind of goes with that. I don't know if they're going to suit all 6 players up or how they're going to kind of go about that. But we'll kind of see how Quad City manages that secondary against, I want to say, a deadly passing attack, but Hudson's gotten behind the defense a little bit. We'll see how it kind of goes. Trayvon Alexander, too, for all intents and purposes. Kicker is Jan Bogdan. That's your 25-man roster for Quad City. That's your 25-man roster for Green Bay. We need to go take a look at our bet and our prediction. Kind of talk about this game a little bit more. And we still have, 2 more previews to go through, so you need to go check on those as well. All right, bet and prediction time for this one, and you broke me. Minus 148 for Green Bay. If Quad City loses this game, it's time to hit the panic button. It's not good. I don't know how else to kind of describe it now. We'll talk about the game, but hypothetically right here, Green Bay goes to 4-0 and you're 1-3, with the only team below you being Iowa, depending on how that game goes against Fishers and all of that stuff. You're odd man out looking up at the playoffs, man, and that's a tough pill to swallow. It's a lot of soul searching you need to do, and we'll see how it kind of goes. I think Green Bay has every ability to win this. They're favored for a reason, and the running attack that Liam Thompson is, DeMylan Brown looked really good against Iowa, and again, the wide receivers of Trayvon Alexander, Drayshawn Hudson, Terrell Carey, they all look good. That defense looks nasty. Can that defense bully the offensive line of Quad City, and vice versa? Can Quad City's defensive line get after Liam Thompson and make him uncomfortable? Because Liam Thompson has not looked uncomfortable. That was a question that I had in the offseason for Green Bay, and kind of doing the predictions and previews and stuff like that. I wondered, is he the guy? Is he going to be the guy only making the one start and being the backup behind Josh Jones in Green Bay? He's the guy. He's the guy. And I've said it for weeks. Quad City needs someone else to step up on offense. There have been flashes, whether it's been Jalal Dean kind of flexing his muscle a little bit, whether it's been Jordan Vesey. Every so often you're like, oh, there's old Jordan Vesey. Whether it's been Jared Ware. Trenton Barnes has looked good for the limited amount of time that he's gotten, but it's pretty much been the Kean Williams and DeQuan Neal show. You need another offensive guy to step up. Because right now Green Bay has got a plethora. There's other teams in the East and even teams in the West that have had multiple guys step up. And step up consistently, dare I say. I'm not saying, again, it's not like Jared Ware's been completely absent or underachieving or anything, but you need that running game to go. It cannot just be DeQuan Neal running the ball and then Jared Ware running for 3 yards every couple of plays. You need a consistent running attack. You need to open that up, because if you can lull that defense to sleep, Kean Williams is behind the defense. It's not always going to be that, because you can just throw it up to the guy who's going to catch it regardless, but you need something, man. And on the defensive side of the ball, you did give up points, but you've had opportunities to win the game against Orlando last week. It's not all on the offense. It's not all on the defense. And we need to talk special teams because it's kind of the same thing that we've talked about prior. Bogdan's looked good. He's won special teams player of the week. However, Andrew Mevis, automatic Andrew Mevis can hit deuces. He can hit field goals. He can hit extra points. He tried a drop kick. If he's already pulling that out 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever into the season, saying, hey, we're beating you by this much, I'm going to attempt an 8-yard drop kick. I don't know, man. I don't know. My prediction for this one, because I've rambled on enough, my prediction for this one, 48-45 in favor of Green Bay. I think they take this victory. It should be close. I think Quad City can keep it close, but I think Green Bay just has a little too much firepower. I think that defensive line can get after DeQuan Neal and make him uncomfortable. I think Brian Lee can have a little bit of a revenge game. They're not going to stop Kean Williams. I think that secondary is good, but not good enough to stop Kean Williams or maybe even a Jordan Vesey or Jalal Dean. There'll be some plays that Quad City can make in this one and keep it close. But at the end of the day, I do think Green Bay just makes a couple more plays in this one. It's not a blowout by any means. It's a nice back and forth contest, but Quad City has had a knack, especially in this, last week against Orlando. They had the win. They gave up a touchdown to Nyquan Murray, and they played well. They've had calls go their way and everything like that, and I think Green Bay is going to take advantage of that. I do. So that's where we have it with this one. We got a 48-45 victory in favor of Green Bay. Like I said, I think their tools and what they have, they're not going to stop Quad City in a sense, but they will stop them because they're going to win the game. Quad City can get up and win this game. They're going to have to do it by making Liam Thompson uncomfortable, throwing a first interception, and just kind of making that run game non-existent, forcing them to throw it, because I think their run game really sets up that pass, and if you can shut that run game down and keep Liam Thompson in the pocket so he doesn't scramble out, even on those design quarterback runs, you got to stop him at the line of scrimmage or for a loss. We'll see how it kind of goes. But for the most part, I just think Green Bay has a little bit too much firepower. So it could go either way, but it broke me. It's going to suck because, like I said, I get the little petty thing here. Says if Green Bay wins, I'm like, haha, I told you so. If Quad City wins, we're back up, baby. So no, like I said, voting with the heart, not this time. Voting with the head this time. -148 for Green Bay. 48-45 Blizzard. Let's move on to preview number 4. All right, preview number 4 here. And we've got another game on overnight. And our 4th staggered start here. So we started at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, gone to 7, 8, and now we're 9 p.m. Eastern Time for this one. The 0-1 San Antonio Gunslingers taking on the 1-1 Arizona Rattlers. Oh, buddy. Arizona got pantsed in their game against Fishers. They did pants San Diego in their first game. And San Antonio, for all intents and purposes, mainly, they were still down a possession, man. Like, they had chances to beat Tulsa, tie the game up, or, get into it. And Tulsa they just beat them. I mean, I don't know how else to really describe it. I mean, like, San Antonio had their chances, couldn't really get it done there. Taking a look at our season leaders on the left side here. Joaquin Collazo, 15 of 22, 197 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. He didn't start the game. He finished it, though, and he played pretty well in lieu of, Fred Payton not being able to be that spark that they needed. Collazo kind of provided that a little bit, so we'll see if he gets the start, but he does have the stats here to be here for that. Max Myler, 28 of 43, 394 passing yards, 7 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Again, what can you say about it? He's been playing really, really well. Former MVP for a reason. I don't see any drop-off right there from last season to this year. He's kind of on cruise control. Could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. KJ Smith, 9 carries, 49 yards, no rushing touchdowns, and again, not really many touchdowns to speak of in the game between Tulsa and San Antonio, so here's hoping he might be able to cross the plane in this one. Max Myler, 11 carries, 59 yards, and 3 rushing touchdowns. That doesn't seem right. And again, these are the Indoor Football League stats. So while that doesn't sound right, it could be right. It could not be right. Who knows? Yay. Receiving leaders, Deion Cook, 4 catches, 87 yards, 1 receiving touchdown. And for the Rattlers, Arlen Bruce, 8 catches, 118 yards, and 1 receiving touchdown, which again, I don't know if that's accurate. The yardage seems kind of accurate, but 8 catches for 118 yards. That's quite a bit of yards from what Max Myler has with only the one receiving touchdown, which was the third play of the San Diego game. Could have sworn he had another one if I'm not mistaken, but maybe I'm wrong. Taking a look at the injury reports here for both sides. San Antonio, already a mash unit, man. What can you say about it? Centel Williams on season injured reserve and new addition to the injury report. Matt Elam on season injured reserve as well. In between that, Shen Butler Lawson, Derek Rose, Tank Jenkins, and Gabe Smith all on short-term injured reserve as of just a couple weeks ago. For the Rattlers, a couple of new additions here, Jakari Larman and Jaden Horace for April 9th on the short-term injured reserve, with Dixon and Braylon Nelson being there from a couple weeks ago as well. Taking a look at our odds for this game presented by DraftKings, -7.5, so over a touchdown favorite for the Rattlers with an over-under of 83.5. So again, some points in this one, roughly 40 for both sides. Maybe a little bit less for San Antonio, maybe a little bit more for Arizona. Plus 210 if you want San Antonio on the road underdog. -258 if you want the home favorite in the Rattlers. Speaking of home favorite, we are in Desert Diamond Arena in Glendale, Arizona. Again, game on overnight, 9 p.m. Eastern Time kickoff. Series head-to-head. 3-0 in favor of the Rattlers. Their last meeting between these two being the penultimate week of the season, with Arizona winning 41-39. And I think I mentioned this in one of the previous videos. This was a point where it's San Antonio wasn't out of the playoffs just yet. They needed that win, or maybe they had just been newly pushed out. I'm not sure, but regardless, they needed that win. They didn't get it. Arizona got it, and I think that might have eliminated them from the playoffs if I'm not mistaken. But regardless, yeah, Arizona undefeated against San Antonio in their short head-to-head history that we have here. So with that, let's go take a look at our 25-man rosters. We have a bet and a prediction to take care of. We have one more preview after this. All right, taking a look at the 25-man rosters for both sides. The away side, as we always do, for San Antonio, Fred Payton and Joaquin Collazo for your quarterbacks. We'll see who starts. Collazo's got a new number, so maybe that means he starts. He went from 16 to 18. We'll see if that bears anything. At least that's what I saw on the roster website, or at least the roster that I have. So Collazo at 18. We'll see if he's 18 or 16. Regardless, that doesn't matter. If he gets to start, if he doesn't, we'll see who takes it out. Running back, KJ Kelvin Smith. Again, Shen Butler Lawson on short-term injured reserve, so there should be Smith's show right there. Taking a look at the wide receivers, Deion Cook, Glenn Gibbons, Deion McShane, Austin Upshaw, and Zach Patterson. And the Deion Cook, a really good game against Tulsa, and with what you've lost with Khalil Rashad and Naquan Murray, you're going to need some wide receivers to step up. Gibbons is doing his part. Haven't really seen too much from Upshaw. Did he get hurt? I can't remember if he got hurt. It's been a couple of weeks, but McShane's been pretty good. Patterson's been all right. We'll see more. It's just been one game, so I can't really be this is a breakout star. We'll see how it kind of goes going up into this game against Arizona. Offensive line, David Connor, Kobe Williams, and Dejon Carroll. Not a lot of depth there, so hope no injuries or anything happen. David Connor was the reserve against Tulsa, if I'm not mistaken, and he did get into the game kind of late, all things considered. So we'll see more or less what that offensive line is able to do. Defensively, Conroy Cunningham, Nick Evans, Daniel Williams, and Terry Beckner Jr. to round it out. We'll see how it kind of goes against that offensive line for Arizona, man. Terry Beckner kind of knows his way around being a former Massachusetts Pirate, but I don't know if he ever played them as a Pirate, because I know after the fiasco that happened with Massachusetts and Arizona, I almost said Massachusetts and Orlando, Massachusetts and Arizona, they haven't really played each other too much. So, yeah, we'll see how it kind of goes. At the linebacking spot, Kendrick Gant, just the one, so he'll probably be the starter unless there's someone else that takes that spot. And in the secondary, they've gotten a little bit here. Various Rivers coming back from the United Football League, so hopefully he's going to slot in as a starter. Christoph Page, most likely going to start. Marcus Floyd, again, activated off of refused to report, or short-term injury reserve, I can't remember which one it was. And then he's got a number, so I'm assuming he's going to play, start, whatever the case could be. But that's really good already. Add in Renaria Dilworth, Larry Brooks, and Jalen Jimerson. And again, that secondary looks pretty good, all things considered. Kicker is Tyler Huddle. And we move over to the home side. For the Arizona Rattlers, Drew Powell and Max Myler, your quarterbacks. Myler going to be the starter, Powell going to be the backup. Running backs here, Ron Brown going to be your starter, Kaimani Clark, who got some action against Fishers, played pretty well given the circumstances. Most likely going to be your backup in this one with Ron Brown, again, getting the start. Wide receivers, Sergio Moranci off of short-term injured reserve. He slots in there. Trey Odoms-Dukes, Corey Reed Jr., Arlen Bruce the fourth, and Keenan Hambrick to round it out. We'll see if they suit all of them up. If there's only four that kind of go with it, we'll kind of see how it kind of goes with the Rattlers wide receiving core. Offensive line, Jake Parks, Michael Brown, Sama Pama, and Christopher Strotter to round it out. I think it's been Parks, Brown, and Strotter as your starters, and we'll see if Pama gets in there at all, or if he suits up. To the defensive side, to the line, new signing John Pius, former CFL player, I believe, out of Wisconsin. So that adds a little bit of bulk. We'll see how it translates to the indoor game. To go along with, again, former USFL standout Carson Taylor, Reginald Pearson, and Jalen Bass. So I think Taylor, Bass will probably start. We'll see if Pius or Pearson gets it there, or if it's Pius. I don't know. Anyway, linebackers, Hayden Hatcher is most likely going to be your starter, with DJ Lundy be your backup. And in the secondary, Amir Wallace, which he was in camp with someone, or in the offseason. He was signed in the offseason by someone. I don't remember who it was. Yastin McKee Sr., Kenny Gallup, Jordan Anderson, and Aunt Joe So for that secondary. So kind of raw secondary, again, for Arizona. But again, a new signee. We'll see how he kind of slots in. All things considered, man, we'll kind of see how that secondary goes up against a more veteran wide receiving room with Gibbons, McShane, Upshaw, and Dion Cook kind of breaking out a little bit after a game. But there you have it. Your kicker is Matthew Cook. That's your 25-man roster for your Arizona Rattlers. That was your 25-man roster for your San Antonio Gunslingers. We need to go take a look at our bets and our prediction for this one. And we still have another preview to do after this. So let's keep rolling on. All right. Bet and prediction time for San Antonio and Arizona. -7.5 for the Rattlers. They've never lost to San Antonio. They barely ever lose at home. I feel like this is, it's not too easy of a pick, but it's like the clearest pick. I mean, unless you're a diehard San Antonio fan and you want to go against the grain, I guess. I just think Arizona's going to come out. Kevin Guy is just going to beat the hell out of him, man. I don't know how. I don't know, but for somehow, some way, there's just something in my head that's just like Arizona's going to pull out all the stops. They don't need to, but I feel like there's a way that Arizona's just going to embarrass them. Now, San Antonio does have a precarious thing here because Arizona has gotten off to some rough starts. They have had injuries in the past where they've gotten off to like 1 and 2 starts, or like 2 and 3 starts and stuff like that with the way that games, like the seasons have gone. They've been able to obviously come back and have strong finishes and stuff like that, but this is an opportunity for San Antonio if they can take advantage of it. Like I said, that secondary for Arizona still kind of raw, and you saw the running game that Fishers just kind of put on Arizona. So if there is a running game that San Antonio can establish, do it consistently, and kind of take that game film with a grain of salt and still have pop passes over the top, whether it's Gibbons or Upshaw or Cook or whoever, there is a recipe there to beat Arizona. Now, you also need some kick return touchdowns and a dynamic duo running back situation, which you don't really have. You don't really have a necessarily mobile quarterback. Collazo and Payton can run if they need to, but by no means are they statues. But for all intents and purposes right now, you don't really have that. So that leads me to believe that Arizona is going to be sending pressure. They're going to be trying to lock up those wide receivers. We'll see how that goes. I think that secondary wide receiving matchup between San Antonio's wide receivers and Arizona's secondary, we'll see how that kind of goes. If that defensive line can start making Collazo uncomfortable, we're going to have a very tough game for San Antonio. On the flip side, that defensive line for San Antonio, if they can break through and try and ruin the timing routes and stuff like that, if they can, you still have to deal with the running game that is Ron Brown and Kaimani Clark. You still have to deal with the wide receivers, which the secondary, like I said, for San Antonio, it looks all right. They haven't had the best secondary in terms of yardage and things like that in the past, but Various Rivers, Kristoff, Page. I mean, those guys are pretty good. And if they can lock down someone like Corey Reed, if they can lock down, Keenan Hambrick or Odoms Dukes or whoever, we'll see how that kind of goes, because you still have to deal with the running game that Arizona has. And that's the reason I just have more weapons, more tools, more methods of winning. That's why I got Arizona. Prediction for this one, 49-37. Again, not a dominating performance, not a squeaker, but at the same time, it's a 12-point victory. I think it's one of those games we talked in the previous preview with Iowa and Fishers. I think Arizona leads wire to wire. And again, this could be a touchdown where like San Antonio gets a touchdown with like 3 minutes, 2 minutes to play, gets it to a 12-point game, and Arizona kind of just takes care of the rest. So that's kind of the vibe that I'm getting with it. I think with what Arizona has, we'll see if Hayden Hatcher can get into the backfield, if that defensive line can get into the backfield, how they kind of go about it. For San Antonio, you need that defense to step up. This is going to be one of the biggest games for you right now in this early season. If you can have that defense step up and either shut down the running game or somehow force Arizona to be one-dimensional, maybe it's in the passing game. Maybe it's you shut down Max Miler, you keep him in the pocket, and he has to make quick throws. Whatever the case could be, I'm not sure. But it's trying to find that Arizona weakness. Fisher's exploited it. I don't think San Antonio has those tools to exploit it. So I think Arizona takes it with that one. So again, 49-37. Arizona has the victory, minus 7.5 for our bet. So where we just kind of leave it with it. I think it's just your typical game, one of those where it's just like you check in on it every now and again. Arizona's still winning. Arizona's still winning. Oh, it's a little close. Not anymore. Arizona's still winning. So it's kind of how I see it going. But we got to move on. We got one more preview to do, and then we wrap everything up. We get out of here. All right. Final preview of the evening. Final staggered kickoff here. It's a 10 p.m. Eastern time kickoff. So, oh man, we've been watching football for hours at this point, 5+ hours, and it's going to end at, Central Time. And it's going to end at like 11:30. Man, it's eyes are going to bleed, but what do you do? Back on overnight for yet another game. Our fourth game on overnight for the evening. We have the 1-1 San Diego Strike Force taking on the 1-1 Tucson Sugar Skulls. San Diego 0-1 on the road, Tucson 0-1 at home. So someone's going to get a victory and take that 0 out of one of those columns. We'll see who it is. But this is kind of what we expected for both of these teams to be in this situation right now. Someone's going to go to 2-1. Someone's going to go to 1-2. And this could be a springboard for one of these teams to maybe get their season more into a playoff push. Now, San Diego being one of those teams that has national championship aspirations, but we've probably factored in the Arizona loss to start the season with the Northern Arizona win. Tucson, again, beating New Mexico, but losing to Vegas. So, again, kind of just putting these teams right where they're supposed to be. Taking a look at our season leaders here. Nate Davis, 32 of 51, 336 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, 3 picks. Draylon Ellis, 24 of 35, 276 passing yards, 5 touchdowns, 3 picks. And again, as I've said in all of these previews, these are the Indoor Football League stats. Take them with a grain of salt. They could be correct. They cannot be correct. We'll see how it goes. Edward Vander, 19 carries, 97 yards, 4 rushing touchdowns. And Draylon Ellis, 19 carries, 46 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. Receiving leaders for both sides. Jalen Sample, 12 catches, 108 yards, 3 touchdowns. And Brian Smith, 11 catches, 113 yards, and 3 touchdowns. So both wide receivers kind of balling out, kind of your wide receiver ones at this point for both sides. Taking a look at our injury report here, San Diego has added Arthur Jackson III and Dallas Holiday to short-term injured reserve. And a couple of additions for Tucson. Jalen Jordan, Octavius Brothers, Journey Sloan all added to the injured report, with Jalen Jordan being your season injured reserve and Brothers and Sloan being your short-term injured reserve. Taking a look at our game odds presented by DraftKings. No spread. Vegas, the casino, thinks that this is a very even game. It's a pick'em here, over-under of 87.5, so they are expecting some points in this one. And money line, just take your pick. That's the reason why they call it a pick'em, minus 110 for both sides. We are in the Tucson Convention Center at the Tucson Arena in Tucson, Arizona, where the Tucson Sugar Skulls play. Again, on overnight, 10 p.m. Eastern Time kickoff. And our series head-to-head favors The San Diego Strikeforce 6-3, with their last meeting being week 12 of last year. San Diego taking the victory 58-42. So that's where we leave it here. A lot of information for both sides. A very intriguing game, all things considered here. A pick'em, where, again, a lot of people had San Diego in the playoffs. Some people had San Diego as championship caliber, championship teams. And right now they're in a pick'em with 1-1 Tucson, who, for some people, have them either in the playoffs, out of the playoffs, or a good season, bad season, whatever. So it's kind of a compelling game to take a look at, considering that a lot of people had San Diego probably higher up, and Vegas goes, eh. So let's go take a look at our 25-man rosters, our bet and prediction. We wrap everything up after we wrap everything up after this, and we get out of here. All right, so 25-man rosters on the screen here. We start with the away side, as we always do. For the San Diego Strikeforce, Davis Black and Nate Davis are your quarterbacks. Davis going to be the starter, Davis Black being the backup. Taking a look at I always do the wide receivers first. Taking a look at the running backs first. Edward Vander going to be your starter. Tyrell Green going to be your backup. We'll see if Tyrell Green suits up, because I don't think he did in the last game, but could be mistaken. We'll see how that kind of goes. Wide receivers include Shane Hooks, Dallas Daniels, Jalen Sample, and Cole Blackman. And again, with Arthur Jackson being injured, we'll see. I'm sure all four of those guys are going to suit up, which again kind of begs the question if Green Jr. is going to suit up or not. Kind of see how that goes. Offensive line, this is going to be a little tricky here. Ivory Scott and Jalen Booth, they're going to suit up and play. Christoph Atkinson, with Dallas Holiday being hurt, Atkinson's going to be thrust into this. We'll see how that kind of goes, and if the defensive line of Tucson can get after that and kind of exploit that. Now, Atkinson, he's been around. I think he was with Arizona at one point. I don't know if he got in any games or anything like that, but I think he was signed with Arizona for a minute. He might have been with a different IFL team too. Could be mistaken. But I know he's been in the Indoor Football League, at least on a roster or in the offseason. So defensively, Wallace Cowens, Afanya Maje, Adam Anderson, Jackson Cravens, and Rashawn Yates. Again, just that defensive line, we'll see who gets the starts. I think it's been Cravens, Anderson, and Cowens, or maybe Yates. They kind of rotate the players. I think they suit up all five of those guys, and they just kind of rotate as necessary. So whoever gets the start doesn't mean that they're going to be the best. It's just whoever's got the opportunity. Linebacker is Roy C. And in the secondary, Herman Smith, William Barber, Trajan Anderson Watts, Jelani Jefferson, Elijah Reed, and Devin Hafford signed back. He was released from Arizona, I think he was. And then, former Fisher's Freight, former Massachusetts Pirate, former San Diego Strikeforce, he's back. So that's going to bode well for the secondary to go along with Elijah Reed. And I know Herman Smith and William Barber have played pretty well. Anderson Watts has too. We'll see how it kind of goes. But that definitely is going to help out that secondary, not just against, Tucson, but obviously in the future as well, if he's playing, if he's healthy, whatever the case could be. Kicker is Ernesto Lacayo, and that's your 25-man roster for your San Diego Strikeforce. Moving on to the Tucson side of things, Draylon Ellis, Casey Otto, your quarterbacks for the Sugar Skulls. Draylon Ellis most likely going to be your starter, with Otto being the backup. Running backs, Brandon Mackey and Tavion Thomas. Thomas coming off a short-term injured reserve, the former Massachusetts Pirate himself, out of Utah, kind of a big old bowling ball there at 6'2", 250. So we'll see if he gets into any game action, or if they run Brandon Mackey out there, if it's more of a thunder and lightning kind of thing here. Wide receivers, Brian Smith, Tamarian Terry, Jerron Waters, Demisio Ewing, and Javian Lofton. I took off Lofton Wilson because that's what he was at San Diego, but he's a new and improved man now, so he's just Javian Lofton. But no, Lofton, former San Diego Strikeforce, revenge game, dare I say here, and we'll see how this one kind of treats him, but he's been playing pretty well for Tucson. I mean, he played pretty good against New Mexico last week, so we'll see how that kind of gets going here with Smith and Terry and that entire wide receiving core. Offensive line, Evan Greathouse, Q Baker, Nashawn Jackson, and Michael Todd Jr. Todd Jr. coming off a short-term injured reserve as well. We'll see if he gets into the game at all, if he starts or anything like that, because I think it's pretty much been Greathouse, Baker, and Jackson, if I'm not mistaken, but we'll see how it goes. Defensively for the Sugar Skulls, Rafiq Abdul-Wahid, Taikei's legs, I think it's Taikei's legs or Taikei's, DeJyman Brooks, and Isaac Anderson. So again, my pronunciations are wrong, I get that, but bear with me here. I think Abdul Wahid, who had a really good game against New Mexico and what he was capable of doing, Isaac Anderson to Jaimin Brooks, and even Taekwei's legs was able to get in there as well. They're going to suit them all up, if I'm not mistaken, and 3 of them have to start. So I'm sure they're all going to play. Deshaun Davis is on, or not Deshaun Davis, Octavius Brothers, I think, is injured. So Deshaun Davis is here at the linebacker spot. It's the only linebacker spot that they have right now, so there he is. And then the secondary, Breon Murray, Kendricks Gladney, Ahmad Lyons, Aaron Jackson, Malik Fleming, former Jacksonville Shark, if I'm not mistaken, and Zachariah Twardowski to round it out. Or maybe not. I think Fleming was with San Diego at one point. Or I'm thinking Malik Jones. My bad. Either way, Malik Fleming, I believe former Jacksonville Shark, if I'm not mistaken. We'll see how that kind of pairs with it, if he even starts or does anything like that, because, again, that secondary looks pretty good, all things considered. So, last but not least, your kicker is Kevin Macias, and that is your 25-man roster for your Tucson Sugar Skulls, 25-man roster for the San Diego Strike Force. And with that, we need to go talk our bet and our prediction. We need to get out of here after that. Right. So, bet and prediction for this one. It's a pick'em. There's no spread. I get wishy-washy when it comes to over and unders. I just don't like picking them. And you can see that in the trends that I've had here. It's either kind of been spreads or money lines. And the money lines haven't been bad. This one, no different. I got to go with a team that has championship aspirations, though. Minus 110 for San Diego. Am I shocked if Tucson wins this game? I think if you would have asked me in the offseason, I would have said yes. But the way that San Diego kind of played against Arizona, and kind of the way that they played against Northern Arizona as well, I don't know, it leaves a little bit to be desired, man. There's a reason why I did not pick San Diego to win the championship or play in the championship or anything like that. I think there's something there that's just not right. And I don't mean like an injury or anything like that. Like, there's something that San Diego needs to get together. I don't know if it's like a mental hurdle or what, but they don't look like a championship team right now. And people might disagree with me, and that's okay. But Tucson, with what they've been able to accomplish, they got absolutely boat raced against Vegas. They had a lot of mistakes. They even had some mistakes against New Mexico, and they pulled out that victory. This could be, I don't want to say a get-right game, because while I don't mind the term, I don't think this is a get-right game. I think San Diego can take this one. I do. It's not going to be like a dominating performance or anything like that, but I think San Diego can make more plays. Now, we'll see how San Diego's offensive line holds up, because I know Nate Davis is kind of picky when it comes to that offensive line. So if Kristoff Atkinson kind of has a bad game, or God forbid there's any injuries, that could spell some doom for San Diego. And I know Tucson's defense and what they were able to do against New Mexico. Yes, it's New Mexico, but what they were able to do, they could wreak some havoc here. I think you need some big days from Edward Vander, and you need some wide receivers from San Diego to step up. We'll see how that kind of goes. Obviously, with Aaron Jackson and company in that secondary, that secondary looks really good. They do have Malik Fleming, and yes, Devin Hafford is on the San Diego side. I think you need a little bit of a running game from Tucson. Tucson, if they can't get their passing game going either, Draylon Ellis needs to prove it. This is kind of a prove it game for Tucson, in the sense of if Draylon Ellis is the guy here, if Tucson wants to make some noise and vie for a playoff spot and, put themselves in that position and be even a force to be reckoned with, and more than just we're here for the 4th seed, if they want to compete, if they want to show that they have turned the corner, I think it starts with a game like this. So if that offense of Tucson can go out and score points against this defense, and that defense of Tucson can shut down San Diego's high-powered passing attack, there's an opportunity there that Tucson could pull this upset. My prediction for this one, though, 47-41 in favor of the Strike Force. I do think San Diego does pull it out. You could shut down the passing game, but I think with what they have running, San Diego does have a little bit of a running game now. And I think that could be the difference, because if you can get that running game going with Vander, you have some jet sweeps, whether it's to Shane Hooks or whether it's to Cole Blackman or whatever like that. If you can prove that you can run it out of the backfield, that is something that could be really, really good, and could be something that changes the game. Both kickers, very good. Talk special teams with this one. Both kickers can hit deuces. Both kickers can hit field goals. Both kickers can kick from long distances. We'll see how that kind of factors into it, because we both know that they can hit. Can they hit it can they hit it to the point of like super consistent? Remains to be seen. I'm not saying they're inconsistent by any means, but I'm saying like if you can hit 4 out of 5 extra points or field goals or whatever, then yes, that's a good day at the office. So what we have here, 47-41. I think San Diego has a little bit more. This could be down to the wire. San Diego scoring that final touchdown, Tucson staying in it the entire game. It could be a back and forth affair. This could also be something where Tucson tries to score, make it that one possession game after being 2 possessions roughly the entire game. They get that stop, try that onside, San Diego recovers, runs out the clock. One of those types of games. I do think it's going to be close. I do. I think this is going to be not neck and neck, but something where it's like they're staying within a couple of scores of each other, get it down to 1 possession, back to 2 possession, down to 1, so on and so forth. And San Diego they make that play, or they have a turning point, or it's kind of that bang-bang first half to second half where it's like they're down by a score, they score, they get the ball at the second half, they score there, and now suddenly they're up. They break the tie, whatever it could be. So there's multiple ways, obviously, but I just think San Diego has just a little bit more. And again, like I said, Tucson wins this one. There's a reason why it's a pick 'em. Simple as that, man. There's a reason why it's a pick 'em, and I'm not shocked. Like I said, a month or 2 ago, probably would have been. This, not so much. And like I said, this could be something that could springboard Tucson onto something more, or it could do the same thing for San Diego and be like, hey, yeah, we can put that Arizona game behind us. We're on to bigger and better things here. So, but that's where we have it. 47-41 for the Strike Force, minus 110 Strike Force money line. Let's wrap up and get out of here. All right, and that is it for our Week 5 Saturday preview. That's a lot of games. That's a lot of games, man. Now, I think every week has like 2 Sunday games, if I'm not mistaken. So this will be the bulk of what we have for the most part, unless I have to look back at the schedule or something. So it might not get any worse than this, which I'm thinking my lucky stars for. But we have this for a couple of weeks. We got some Friday games we need to start talking about too in the next coming weeks as well. So we'll have some staggered previews and recaps and things along those lines. But I've talked enough. My brain hurts. I still have to edit all of this stuff, so I will leave you guys with that. I don't like cutting it short, but whatever. We got a slew of games, so we'll cut this short and sweet here because we're almost even at a minute with my rambling. But I love you guys. I love you. Appreciate you guys taking the time to watch this. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, the entire probably hour long, however long this thing is. It's going to be long. But again, I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch this. It truly means a lot to me, even if it's just a minute, even if it's just the bets, even if it's just anything like that. So if you made it this far, kudos to you. But with that, I'm taking off here, guys. I love you. I love you. I love you. I'll see you guys in the preview for Sunday's games. I'll catch you in the recaps. I'll catch you on Shady Sports. Anything and everything in between. But until then, I'll see you in the next video. See ya.